Hi OC Valley, this is Jesse. Tonight I'm going to bring to you a story about Juliaetta. Now in this story we try to do our due diligence and get both sides to an event or a subject that happens, a story, and we were unable to do that. We reached out numerous times over the last few weeks to talk to the mayor of Juliaetta via Facebook, messaging, emails, phone calls, stuff like that, and we have not received a response. So tonight we're going to present to you one side of this story. It's not based on emotion, it's based on facts, and we're presenting those facts to you. We would like the rebuttal from the mayor, but like I said, unfortunately, that hasn't happened. This will be a full, uncut video, raw footage that everybody can view, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. So stay tuned.
Rolling, go ahead. So state your name and spell it.
Oh, my name is Bonnie Wismore, Bonnie, Wismore.
And
Judy Fuller, Judifuller.
you give us permission to film this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, we're rolling.
Thank you very much. So, nice to meet you ladies.
Nice to meet
It's
you.
nice to meet you.
Today we're gonna be talking a little bit about Juliaetta and your roles and positions in Juliaetta. Bonnie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm Bonnie Wismore, and I used to be the treasurer at the City of Juliaetta from 2019 until August of this year.
5 years. Yep. I got sworn in January of this year as the newest council member for the City Council of Juliaetta.
Nice.
So yeah.
So that's where the story starts. Let's talk to you for a second. When you got sworn in, what was your intent? Like when you wanted to be city council, how did that start? What made you want to be a city councilman?
It was a kind of a last minute thing. So elections was November prior, and I just got asked, Judy, you should run for council because of what I had done prior for the community. So people knew me. And I'm like, I don't know about politics. I was raised in that environment. I don't know about this. But no one else was really steps up. That's what happens in small communities. People will complain how things are, but no one steps up and runs. So I thought, well, I knew with past experience and being a people person and just believing in the community that I said, okay, I'm going to do this. So I got on there.
When you were involved in the community previously, what was it you were doing? How did the community know you?
Well, I manage the property where I live, which is really Juliaetta's only large rental place. So a lot of people. So I'm an apartment manager. I'm known for that. I was a member of the Latah County Business Women's Association. I was the admin of the Juliaetta Kendrick Facebook page. And there's less than 600 people in Juliaetta, and I grew that group up to 2,500 people. And that was a fun 3 years. Not only was it group pages are informative, and we held photo contests, monthly, and we did birthday giveaways, random gifts. It was a lot of fun, but it was also informative and very helpful. And
experience.
Yeah. So everyone knew who Judy Fuller was between Juliaetta and Kendrick, and people were very receptive, and it brought some neighbors together who never knew each other. And so for 3 years, I was already serving the community in just that regard,
You part of the community. You
Absolutely.
Part of it. Can you provide any examples of challenges or successes from your time managing the town's Facebook group? Like, what specific skills do you think or experiences did you gain from that?
Well, by nature, I'm extremely diplomatic. And if there literally, and Bonnie could vouch for this, was zero drama in that page for 3 years. And that's almost unheard of for any Facebook group page. And if there was hint of some kind of dramatics, I would nip it in the butt really quick by being diplomatic. And I would get a hold of the parties involved. And I always laid the choice on them to dissolve it. And if they had to remove a post, I didn't want to be that because it wasn't my group page. It was the community's group page. And I'd say 99% of the time, people would dissolve the issues on their own because I privately messaged and explained to both of them, look, you have your issue here, you have your issue here. This is where you can go in the middle. That's the diplomacy, and it worked. So they're just that was the good part of what I was, able to do. I can't really think of any negative part. I brought 2 neighbors together who lived next to the elementary school in Juliaetta for over 20 years, and they never got along and they never spoke ever. And I ran a first photo contest, and they both were running out to check their mail, and they just said, "Hey, do you see on the group page that they're running a photo contest? Are you going to enter? Well, are you?" And they're good friends now because of just something like that.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you being a part of the community and everybody knew you. You ran a Facebook group page.
Juliet and Kendrick, yeah.
Right? What they know you as?
They called me the Facebook lady. I couldn't even be on the bike path, behind where I lived. There's that, 5 mile long, and I look my worst, no makeup, right? And be like, "Judy, are you Judy Fuller? You're the Facebook lady." I'm like, "Well, we're all the Facebook ladies and men." But it's just like I couldn't go anywhere without somebody saying, "Man, that you're making the group a lot of fun. It's informative, it's helpful, and there's no drama." It was just like I was like,
A little popularity going on.
well, I didn't want that kind of attention, but I definitely grabbed it, without wanting to or trying to.
It just came at you.
But I really felt, appreciated and valued, and that made me feel good. And believe me, that was a full-time job. I'm talking 24/7.
Oh yeah.
And that took a lot of energy and time.
From at home to
Juliaetta Kendrick, I even had to help a marriage. I'm like, well, first I gotta tell you I'm not a licensed counselor, but and then
Yeah.
they ended up staying together. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
How
I was liked at one point.
How do you feel that your perception shifted from Facebook lady to a perceived outsider? Like,
Well,
when do you think that
a buddy
happened?
of
That was
mine-
my fault.
Yeah, it's all Bonnie's fault. But a buddy of mine on the fire department there in Juliaetta, he warned me that when he moved to Juliaetta 20 years ago, they did everything to get him off the fire department and to run him out of town.
As a new person,
As in, he was an outsider.
an outsider.
Now, I was accepted to the community until I got into politics, until I got sworn into council. And he warned me, "Judy, you're going to have people come into your house, calling you, messaging you, wanting you to change this, wanting you to do that." And boy, I thought he was exaggerating. No, he wasn't. So it just my being, I went from being accepted to really they wanted me out of town. Yeah, it's just, and I did get tell, and this is sad, I actually got, I don't know if you want to call it discriminated against, I got told by people that I am, because I'm a renter, I'm a second-class citizen, and I'm not a taxpayer, and I have no business being on council.
Like, so you don't have, no business, you don't have a right to say
Yeah.
anything because
Yeah.
you don't own.
But why do I need to be a taxpayer to fight for you? Who is a taxpayer?
Well, we all are taxpayers. You go to the store and you buy
Yeah.
something.
Our rent
you're a
goes up
taxpayer.
because the taxes went up for the landlord,
Yeah, our rent goes up because the landlord wants
Taxes
more money
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
But we're experiencing that here as well.
that's what I hear.
Assessments are going up.
Mm-hmm.
So you were letting people know you wanted to be a council member, and you started, and you.
Well, I got sworn in January. I think it was January 9th. And that was a really interesting thing because I brought, much like Bonnie's persona, and I want to say for the record, Bonnie and I weren't even friends when I got sworn in. I didn't really know her. The town thought we were. It wasn't until like May or June, halfway through the year, that we really kind of, this whole ordeal is what brought us together. But anyway, so I really didn't know anyone as far as, no one were friends when I got on there. But what was your question?
Well, it was
Sorry.
kind of more of a, that was the beginning statement of kind of why do you think you were not welcomed by the other council members
Well, then-
or the mayor on your first day?
When the new person gets sworn in, usually the mayor will shake your hand and welcome you on board. The council president will do same. I brought to city council an enthusiasm and an energy I thought would be matched, and it wasn't. And that was a pink flag right there for me. And then to sit in on the second half of that very first month, no eye contact, no welcome, Judy. Hey, if you have any questions, we know this is new for you. I'm here for you.
So you had certain expectations.
Zero. To me, that was just like, that's just like basic. It's like, I just couldn't believe it.
You thought there was going to be more to it. Your expectation, like.
Well, at least welcome on board, hey,
Yeah.
for being the new person.
How?
Yeah. So I knew I just knew something wasn't right that very, very first month in January of this year. Yeah.
So in that, the expectations of the city council and their work and how the council meetings went along, and you noticed something was definitely not right there. When you did you anticipate any friction, or did you think you were stepping into something like that, a situation like that, or did you think you were going to be accepted by them?
Well, honestly, Jesse, I didn't care if I was accepted. I didn't join to make friends. I decided to do that because I was very passionate about representing the Juliaetta residents. And I already knew from being there 4 years in town, from just hearing, a lot of complaints between Juliaetta and Kendrick, that things aren't being run right. Laws aren't being followed. Public meeting laws are being violated. People's not being allowed to speak at meetings. Just the list is long.
That's with the censurable.
I knew that going in.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I need to look into this. And
That would be censorable conduct, right? So
absolutely
how they were
suppressed.
performing, what they were allowing to be talked about, not talked about, stuff like that. Do you have any examples you'd like to share, or describe, like?
Well, I could let you know that. So people that attend sit in the gallery. And there's, under public meeting laws, there's nothing that says they can speak, but there's nothing that says they can't. So I started doing my homework because I wasn't getting help from my own peers. I had to call AIC in Boise. I had to constantly make calls, Google, go online. So I started watching videos of all of our surrounding small communities, Beauville, Deary, Troy, just to be educated. Everyone but us would allow people who attended to speak up to 3 minutes as long as they were talking on the agenda at hand. And our council members would literally tell them to shut up and or be quiet.
They would say the words?
Yes, they would.
Do you think that, and that's a red flag right there?
It's just not professional.
Yeah, exactly. How
Yeah.
public speech.
Yeah. Well, in a couple of meetings, I would say to them, I'd say no, I'd say Judy, I would say Ann, please go ahead, what is your question?
You
And
would
they did.
address them.
Oh, absolutely. I was always for the people.
Well, that's good.
But it angered them,
But yeah, exactly.
because I didn't go with the grain,
I said, I'm trying to stop saying,
Yeah. Okay.
It's better than don't you know.
Yeah.
Okay. From the community's perception, and all of a sudden, you were voted in by the community, correct?
No, I did not get voted in because no one ran, so I just got to be in.
Unopposed.
Yeah, I was hoping to have one person run because I'm all for a challenge.
Right,
I like
you
to make
wanna-
things honestly,
Just like a deserving
Yeah.
challenge, right?
Mhm.
No, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
So you ran unopposed, so people that had a chance to run didn't run, but then they felt the need
They
to.
didn't step up. Nobody runs. Yeah.
At that moment, when do you think it actually started, the transition from Facebook lady smiles and happy?
March.
It was March.
Soon.
Right after.
It was
the-
March. Mhm. The good news is that I brought to the agenda 6 items in the first 6 months.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Were there specific
Yeah.
decisions or actions that you took that the residents might have misinterpreted as against the city?
No, it's really, the issue's always been with the council themselves. So like I brought 6 things to the agenda and 5 got passed. I brought the Pledge of Allegiance to the city of Juliaetta and we had never said it since 1896.
Why is that?
So when I did my homework, I'm like, okay, how come almost every city in America, that's how you begin your meetings.
Yeah.
And being, a veteran's daughter, a general's daughter, and having a Marine mom and being patriotic, I'm like, you gotta start your meetings with a 9-second pledge. We had a flag there. And so that got passed immediately. And I expanded City Hall hours, which hadn't been done in many years. I got lights up on city property where it was coal black and a death trap on the walkway. There's just a lot of little things that got passed.
That you brought to attention.
And boom, 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 it happened. And yet, still
So-
didn't go well for me.
And it was the council members that would vote on these things with you, but then behind the scenes,
They didn't put anything to fruition. They didn't make things, yeah. And then so when I started studying through decades of meeting minutes, and I mean decades of meeting minutes, it's kind of the pattern for this particular group to pass things, but then not put them into action. So I call that an inactive government. It's like, so, okay, you're getting paid to sit here, and but we're not actually putting our money where our mouth is, so to speak. And I had a problem with that. So.
Who exactly in the community or in the council, if you'd like to name names, you can, conveyed the perception of you as a second-class citizen? And how did they express this? How did they make you feel? What did they say?
Well, they didn't say it during a meeting. They said it in a Facebook message. And it was a couple people. It was some just regular residents, like on my own street, who I used to help. But anyway, and pets it for us. That was disappointing. But it was a particular council member who she wears many hats. She does some other things in the community as well. Really don't want to mention names, but people who listen to this will probably know who I'm speaking to. And it's very disappointing.
Do you think she was misguided in her, how she was?
I wouldn't say she was misguided. I won't think any of these people are misguided.
So they know, they're knowledgeable.
They know who I am and what I'm about, but I'm not on the good old boy system. And I think Bonnie, the former clerk, told Bonnie one day, the first month, Judy's going to be a problem. The first month, how would they have even known that in the first month? But I look back now and I take that as a compliment. It means they knew that I was going to be on the side of the law.
Exactly.
And the people.
And the people can trust you. That's the thing that the people
And they do.
realize. So in this, when Bonnie came to you, when you first met her, there was some concerns about transparency and financial practices that were going on. I guess this question would be more for Bonnie. What were the irregular procedures related to taxpayer funds that you discovered or that you were aware about? And can you provide a specific example of what seemed amiss and what raised those red flags for you to present it to Judy?
Well, first of all, it was the Juliaetta television, and I noticed that we would cut a check and then it was deposited. And I had asked one time, well, where's the bank statement for this? And they're like, no, it's a Juliaetta Association. We deposit it into their account. And I was like, oh, okay. And then it's usually done after city council meeting, which happened to be when the clerk was working her long week. So she would always be the one taking it to the bank and depositing it. Well, one time she wasn't there, so I did it. And I put it in our checking account. And so I had to cut another check. And then she told me, here's the deposit slips. She'd get them out of the safe, and you have to. But my thing is that why were the deposit slips in the safe? Why are we depositing it if I don't have any kind of control over this bank statement? I can't reconcile it. I don't know what's going on with it.
Right, you're just told to deposit it.
So, a lot of times I let it go, and I had talked to many of the city council members prior and that are still on there now, and I gave them information, and they asked for more information, and I would give them all the information that they need, and yet nothing got done. So they kind of just blew it underneath the rug. And that's why I slowly kind of kept questioning or asking things to Judy, and we'd have a few discussions and stuff. And the more I opened up, and I actually gave her a couple of documents and said, see, this is what I'm talking about, she started coming in. And that's when she started going through all the decades and everything, because I questioned stuff and I felt like she could help.
Right, she
and
cared.
Yeah.
She was there for a reason.
Right. And the other city council members, whether they were voted in before or whatever, they just, no, that can't be right.
They didn't really want to investigate it.
No.
When you said that there was documents and things that you came across over the years, if you can, which official documents or records did you examine to form your conclusions or your ideas? Were there specific policies, guidelines, or accounting records that pointed to the potential mismanagement that you could plainly see in black and white?
A lot of it was, I would say, there's a lot of bank accounts at different banks that kind of concerned me. It's like, why are we fishing everything in different areas? They had a committee that raised money for the library because they were hoping to, buy some property and build a library in Juliaetta for them, or at least be able to. So that money I kept reconciling, but every month, because it was in a bank, we were only getting like less than $2 a month for interest. And I kept telling him, let's put it into the treasury fund, which is usually the highest interest rate you can possibly get. Most of the time I got comments like, which really blew my mind, was, well, what if we lose money? You don't lose money with interest. It will go down, but you will never lose.
Right.
Because it might go from 4 to 3, and you might lose a percentage for a couple of months, but you will never go to a negative interest rate, ever.
Do you think those who were telling you stuff like that was trying to prepare you, or?
I think they were trying to make it sound like they knew better than I did.
That there was going to be some money missing?
I don't know. I don't believe that. Most of the time, like the library, that money didn't go missing there. But I did finally get them to put it into the treasury right before I left. But the big thing is we lost the library. Kendrick,
Just found
they
out.
are last month. They found a building in Kendrick, so they're going to move it, which is sad because the elementary school, which uses a lot of it, is in Juliaetta. Right now, all we have for businesses or anything to attract people to Juliaetta
The bar.
is the bottoms up. And they've got great food, great service.
Shout out.
And then, and then there's the Juliaetta Market with the
The
gas,
gas station. That's
gas
it. We
station.
have all these. Looks like a ghost town. We have all these empty buildings.
But Kendrick has,
They have a couple
3
of
restaurants? They got like 3 restaurants, a couple of bars,
Gift shops.
gift shop in there.
Half the population. Half the
Because of
population.
because of economics, it was put there instead.
No, actually Kendrick has less funds than we do.
They're half the population.
Matter of fact, they were trying to raise money for their wastewater, and they had to raise their wastewater rates because, but hopefully, like we did, the grants will come through for them. Nothing against them either, because I actually am City of Kendrick. But I stand up for Juliaetta because I was working there, and I still do.
It's kind of how we're tied to our little cities here together. So you
Right, and it's happening I grew up in a small town in Winnebago, Minnesota, and it's the same thing. Time and time again, there's a few people that think that they own the town, and whatever they say, they get. They have a concession stand at the Juliaetta Park. Nobody was using it for baseball, softball games. So me and my husband started doing that to raise money for a splash pad. Well, everybody was against the splash pad. So we turned around and gave it to the Baseball Association, who are now going to build.
She raised $12,000 on her own.
nice.
So, and that was more than they raised in 7 years for the Juliaetta Library. But everybody wants the money to go for the library, but nobody was willing to help. And that's kind of sad is everybody wants everybody else to do things for the community, but they aren't willing to stand up and take a stand. We've had more people show up for city council meeting because
The
of
drama
her.
I'm causing.
Yep.
My bad.
Good.
But
Oh, the awareness is awesome.
Otherwise, there would only be like
2,
somebody's
3, 4
wife
people.
or daughter or whatever at city
Hard to
council.
get things corrected
Yeah.
that way.
So
This question is going to be more for Judy here.
Sure.
What responses, if any, after you received the information and you started looking into it, you said that you contacted the AIC in Boise,
Yeah.
and Secretary of State, city attorney, and the county's prosecuting attorney. Were they able to validate your concerns, or were they trying to refute them? Were they trying to just push them off?
So when both of us, when we decided, okay, we need some outside help because we certainly weren't getting it on the inside because the problem was on the inside. So whenever I would send an email or share some information, I would send it to all of them. I wanted all agencies on the same page, even though one will forward. There's a process, chain of command, so to speak. So sent a very detailed email with the issues that really have been known for years in this town, but no one's brought them to these agencies. It was just word on them, chat in town that there's problems. I said, well, that's not going to get us anywhere, so we need to contact some people who actually have some authority to make some change. So really, how it worked out is it all came down to, well, there's a process, and the first step was you have to file a form of complaint of A through whatever to the local sheriff's department. And then Bonnie actually, by the way, it's kind of a joke now, we can laugh about it now, but I have been slandered, defamation of character. I will be addressing this with a particular individual because I have all the receipts to prove that every allegation that was made in the newspaper are false. And I know she has no receipts to back up that what she said about me is true, so I have a clear conscience there. But so Bonnie actually, she messaged me one night. She goes, "You may not be happy, but I went ahead and I filed a complaint with the sheriff's department." So I didn't even know she was going to do it. But of course, the town thinks I did it, right? I've done everything, apparently. And that's how it got started. And we provided, and we also went to the city attorney before we went to the sheriff's department, thinking he could help.
And the city's attorney is?
Todd Richardson.
He's a city attorney for a couple different cities.
Orfino.
And also Clarkston.
He used to be for 20 years, I think.
Wow.
Not many more, though, for Clarkston. And we went to his office together with a stack of papers, and we said, hey, I know we just hired you 2 weeks ago, but we have issues, and we need help. And
He sent us home with
he sent us
everything.
home. So I'm like, okay, well,
So
we're
they
not
send you home
waiting.
to do your own research, or send you home to?
He had to talk to other attorneys and figure out maybe what to do with
What the
this
best course of
information.
action
Yeah,
would be.
yeah. So that wasn't good enough for us because time is of essence. So that's when Bonnie sent an awesome email, I think, to the prosecuting attorney, state attorneys general, state.
It started out with the Attorney General.
The
and
Attorney General.
they replied and said that we had to go to
The sheriff.
the sheriff, and so I copied Bill, prosecuting attorney, on it, so he was aware.
So everybody was aware.
And so the sheriff's department kind of
They
is in the process of handling it.
It's been going on for about 2.5 months.
So-
There was enough evidence that we provided to warrant investigation.
And so investigation is warranted. So
It's ongoing.
it's ongoing. So,
Mhm.
so you successfully got the prosecuting attorney's office to look into it.
Well, it's really the sheriff's department. They will work there. They have to kind of, I want to
They have
say,
to get enough information.
they have to
Right.
find what they find. And if it's credible enough, they turn over to the prosecuting attorney's office. And I guess they decide, or Bill Thompson decides, okay, this
Go
is
forward.
to go forward. This is what we could charge whom and whom with. And so, yeah, so ultimately it depends on the prosecuting attorney how this is going to be handled.
Right. And it could be handled criminally.
Oh, absolutely. The sheriff department wouldn't even take it on if it wasn't a criminal.
Yeah.
And Bonnie and I have very respectfully and politely let everybody, kind of put everyone on notice that we're not letting this get swept under the rug.
Good.
So,
So in that, and letting everybody know, you've had interactions with other council members and the mayor during this. Why do you think when you're trying to bring it up, when you or Bonnie were trying to bring it up, and you, Judy, why do you think that other council members and the mayor were evasive in answering your questions? Do you think the council members knew what the mayor was doing?
Yes.
Were there instances that directly contradicted themselves? Like the mayor would say
all
one
the time. all the time. I can give you a really good example, really good example. So I think you were there. Yeah, you were there that night. So how I even got really into the Juliaetta Association, which has been disbanded years ago, residents were contacting me. They knew me from the admin of the group page. They were comfortable approaching me saying, Judy, you're on council now. Who do we contact for customer service when we don't get our TV channels? Because if you're paying for a service, there's got to be some sort of customer service number. I go, well, I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. So I had put the Juliaetta TV Association on June's agenda, and I started asking questions. And this was pretty much a little bit of a clown act.
And when you say put it on the agenda,
so it can be discussed.
No, so it can be discussed.
So I can get some answers. Because we're bound, council member, we can't hold quorums outside. Everything has to be in a meeting, in the public meeting. So when I said, look, I have been approached by residents of Juliaetta asking who do they contact with their TV issues because they're paying this money on their city water bill for the service. Well, first our former clerk said, well, they just call City Hall. I go, no, that's not true, because I actually called City Hall as a customer. I was honest. And I said, and you told me that City Hall was not the place to ask about the TV. So, of course, you're red-faced. And then the council president goes, well, they just called Dick on his home phone. And I said, okay.
And who is he?
That's a mayor,
That's the
sorry.
mayor.
I said, Mayor, can I get that phone number? And I'm ready to write it down. Well, he gets the deer in headlights look, and he looks at his right-hand man, which was the clerk. He just looks at him like, what do I do now? What do I say? And then all of a sudden she goes, well, they can just call his cell number. And I said, could I get your cell number? And then all of a sudden the president goes, well, they can just find him on his ATV. He's always riding around town. So I'm like, okay, so customers have to hunt down the mayor. So everyone had a different answer.
And they were all sticking up for him.
And they were all, yeah.
All had an
Kind of
excuse.
his enablers, and yeah, it's really
So it
sad.
kind of makes you wonder what involvement they had in
That
it.
told me something was wrong.
Right.
Well, like in October, here's another thing too, is October is mayors all over Idaho walk, and if you do 10,000 steps in 31 days, then your city gets $1,000.
I do 10,000 steps in a day.
I know. That's what I mean, a day,
Yeah.
but for the whole month.
Yeah.
For the whole month. And so they get 1,000. But you can also have somebody else do it. But the thing is that even with his cell phone and things like that, he couldn't do it. The clerk had to do it for him, set him up and check it and
So why is
make
he
sure.
mayor?
So
86
you
years
know.
old this month.
But we did get the money every year. I got to give him credit for that.
Okay, that's
so.
cool. When you can't send or receive an email, when you can't operate a phone, when you can't do any of the admin aspect of being an important position as mayor, you probably shouldn't be mayor.
There is a job description.
Absolutely. And it's long.
If you're unable to perform
Such
your
as
duties,
enforcing city ordinances, never been done.
Yeah.
And he was a council member for over, I think, 20 years before he became mayor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And the DMRs, which you do online, and they have to be approved online, and everything was approved by this city clerk, whether the mayor was there or not.
Have there been other council members or residents that have reported similar issues with the council's transparency? Is there a historical pattern of residents or council members questioning the city council?
I
No.
don't think I
Nobody
came
ever
along in all those decades. Yeah.
But
And-
nobody comes. Nobody cares. Now that Eric, I think it's been 3 years, 4 or 5 years that they have actually been videotaping, and he's just
a
a
private citizen,
and he puts it on YouTube.
which has been a lifesaver lately. especially
And
this
I
year.
think more people started when they figured it out, started watching it, and would make comments, or they would show up for a city council meeting if it was important to them. But most of the time, they, like I said, small towns, especially all across America, if they don't take action, they're going to lose their towns, because there are things coming down the pipeline that the state and the federal government want to do in these small towns, and it could hurt you. So nobody wants to come to city council, nobody wants to volunteer, nobody wants to be part of anything, but they want to complain.
Well, we
But I think
definitely
that's
like to
changing.
do a call to action to have people
Yeah.
go to your city council meeting.
I have been an
I've
advocate.
spoken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you have. I've been an advocate for that this entire year. I plan on establishing some kind of organization, a program to educate and literally travel and help people understand how much power a resident has by attending their city councils.
They can even get on the agenda, and it doesn't have to be a vote. If you just want to talk about it,
Concern,
all you have to
comment.
do is tell your clerk, listen, I want to talk about the dust all over town in the summertime. Can we get abatement? And she will ask, well, do you want us to vote that all the streets or certain streets or what? She might have a few questions, but she just wants to know if they have to vote. If you just want to complain,
Or just share an idea.
yeah, share an idea. You know, like, hey, there's a concession stand there. There's no reason why people can't use that concession stand just like they use the gazebo if they're having a big family reunion or something, because there's an oven in there. There's a refrigerator. And sometimes that's more helpful in the summertime than trying to pack everything in ice.
Well, something on what you just said, for the last 10 years, we did have a clerk who, against Idaho statute, she would decide what got put on the agenda, and that's against the law.
Right.
It's not the clerk's authority. She has no authority to do that. And she actually turned down a candidate running for sheriff to be on the agenda until I contacted him privately. And I said, you get on there again. And he was the next month. I was really upset about that.
Right, and those are some accountability issues.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So with that, another thing you mentioned earlier, for the videoing, it wasn't recorded, none of the meetings were recorded. So now you have record of the stuff that you've been presenting. And
For this calendar year. But the thing
Right.
is, we're still in violation of public meeting law because we can't say we're covered because it's a private citizen
that's doing
using their camera and taking liberty to put it on, which is great for as far as reference and proof. But we're still in violation because we didn't have our own equipment. So I brought that to board 6 months ago.
Not to mention that,
And
you
it
know,
did get passed.
Eric does videotape, but it's like you guys videotaping this. You can take stuff out, put stuff,
Edit.
you know.
Yeah, but private citizen could do that.
And so that's another reason, you know, other people, residents in Julietta could go, hey, it was edited. That's not what happened.
Yeah. So 6 months ago, I did get past buying a very inexpensive 3-in-1 what we needed, which was a speaker, a microphone, an audio recorder. Because public meeting law says that if we're going to have a hearing, we have to audio record that and keep it on file for a minimum of 6 months. We've had many hearings, and there's no record of it. Usually when you discuss land dispute and stuff like that.
We didn't even have our budget here.
And the civil fines is on us. We could potentially
council members are held accountable
individually,
if they're not.
yeah. And I didn't want to be guilty by association. I couldn't afford to pay those kind of fines, so I constantly brought it that we were in violation. And they
So
did,
yeah, just cause.
yeah. And our mayor didn't want to vote for it. He voted no.
No.
Yeah. For
She brought it up. She brought it up
$550.
for about 3 months straight, and
Until
then
it
we
got
finally
passed.
got it approved. And then the city clerk was just dragging her feet, and so I finally took initiative.
Months passed, didn't happen.
And so I tried to, you know, maybe work with the school to see if we could get something going. They turned that down and said they wanted if they were going to pay for it, they wanted something better. So we went to our IT people in Lewiston, and
We found something.
we found something, and we're in the process of getting it done before I left. But the big thing is that things get approved, and I watched it time and time again that things would get approved, but nothing would get done. We approved for a scanner, and they still don't. They never hired one, but they advertised for an applicant.
And they receive funds probably for it. But
So
We pass things, and then it just like it goes in the wind.
it all depends upon who you are. I used to tell her all the time when I was working, I said, there's too many chiefs and not enough Indians, because I'm the only Indian and everybody else wants to be chief. The maintenance supervisor, the clerk, city council members, it doesn't matter. Everybody was and so everybody wanted to be my boss. And it just kind of kept getting
Well, not
more
doing
and
their
more
job.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
Where you've got so many people telling you what to do. It's like, okay, I need to know who my boss is and who I listen to, and the rest of you,
The night that it finally got passed, I bought the least, or found the least expensive, adequate for, we have small chambers. It's a $550 device, plus labor. And the mayor didn't want that.
Were they fussing over the cost of it?
Yeah, but get this, 2 minutes later, they voted and passed for a $30,000 flatbed trailer for our maintenance guy. 30 grand. But not something 550 to bring us up to law.
Right.
Up to code.
Up to code, yeah. It's like priorities are always about the city workers, not for the people of the Juliaetta.
Right.
So you've been trying to find out who to talk to hold the city accountable, or
Well, the city workers, okay, the big fire we had. So our fire department is volunteer, and we do have them on the budget, but everything that happened for the fire, the city workers got compensated, not the fire department.
they pushed the buttons and got paid for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think we ruffled some feathers because somebody just sent me a message. Do you know Lisa Teff?
Oh, we do. She's one of those half dozen, Yeah.
Yeah, so she sent us a big long.
There'll be
I'll
some of
read
that.
it to you.
But it'll be the same people. So that's why it doesn't, it's over my head now. It just goes past me.
Right.
Because we're receiving overwhelming support since the election.
Yeah.
We're just now seeing the Daily Fly interview saying, wow,
Like, wait a minute.
we commend you, thank you, keep going, don't give up the fight, and your mayor needs to step down. I mean, from all surrounding towns. So the support's coming late for me, but it matters and it means a lot.
When I read something, when this all started, and I can't remember, I tried to find it, I don't even remember the terminology, but it was to the effect of, like, if there's a bogus vote, or, a bogus voting to take you out based on such and such, and you can prove that, then the vote can be that.
So this is, I would like to talk about that if I may.
Yes.
So this is really interesting. So a neighbor 2 blocks down on my street who I never met in person, we've spoke over the years through Messenger. I mean, when we had the wind fire, she even messaged me saying, hey, Judy, can you look for our peacocks? Because they have peacocks. If you see them, rescue them. There's times, she won a giveaway. I mean, there's communications. I never met her face to face. So she initiated this petition, and she got the first initial 20 signatures, but they needed 88 more. So now the mayor and his girlfriend are the signature gatherers. And someone said, Judy, the mayor is on his little green gator going door to door with a clipboard collecting signatures. Of course, half of the people are his relatives, his renters. He has several properties. If you rented, you're probably going to do what your landlord wants you to do, right? For the fear of maybe retaliation. Yeah. And so I found out there has been quite a few people that had voters' signature remorse. They said, and then they shared with me, and I have all the receipts of what they got told why I needed to be removed. I will be addressing
there's
this.
some voter fraud going on.
Absolutely.
And there's a specific term, or if they try to garnish votes.
Well, there's election laws and petition laws. They violated every one of them. And one of them is, it's like if I have a clipboard with a petition, and I'm going to come knock on your door, I'm going to say, hey, Jeff, would you sign this? Well, you're going to ask me, what's this about?
What's it for?
I'm not supposed to say a word because there's supposed to be a description on that top page attached, and it wasn't attached. That's violation. That's against the law.
Right. It has to be attached to each signature.
And then every single house, got told a different story.
Well, not to mention, Stephanie said that she was the one
She initiated the recall.
She initiated the recall, but she never went door to door. She sent the mayor and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
So you have to be the person. You have to be the person get all the signatures.
Right.
What were the stated reasons for your recall?
This is awesome. So actually on voting day, election day, I was allowed by the Secretary of State to have a 200-word rebuttal. In fact, it had to be approved to be printed on the ballot, and I used all 200 words. They had 40 words as to why I would go, and it had nothing to do with my performance as a council member. It had everything. They said that, I'm paraphrasing now because I don't have it before me, that Judy Fuller needs to be removed immediately because of her conduct on social media. And then she listed
Which was me.
This is what's amazing. Bonnie said to the Daily Fly that everything I got accused of doing, she did do. Nothing illegal, nothing immoral, but she was the admin for the City of Juliaetta Facebook page. But because I admitted the town's Kendrick Juliaetta page for 3 long years, they just had it in their head that Judy was in charge of the City of Juliaetta page. Council members don't get that authority. It's the clerk and the treasurer. So she made an innocent comment. We were already at an evacuation 3. People had to go.
Right.
The deputy came door to door with the megaphone, and she said, if people go home, you might want to pack, you might want to get out. Well, they said, Councilmember Judy Fuller is being alarmist. She's causing havoc and causing.
I told them, go. Get out, go. I'm from Minnesota. That's what we do. A tornado shows up.
Well, that's what you're supposed to
Get
do.
your butt in the basement. Don't stand outside.
Sheriff said, get up and go.
Yeah, they will come to your door and say,
They
"I need
did,
to go."
not
No.
door to door. Like the property I managed, they came to every
So you
apartment.
said nothing out of context or out
This
of...
is the funny part. I was already banned from all social media. I've been silenced.
Now, how do you get banned from social media?
They
I thought
removed me
social-
as a member and they blocked me.
I got removed from the City of
Which was
Juliaetta
illegal,
page.
because she was still the treasurer. That's actually
Well, I was
illegal.
still
Yeah.
working for the city.
Silenced us.
While you were still working... they
First
had to,
Amendment infringement, absolutely. And I never experienced that in my life. And Jesse, I really don't have the words to describe that. It's almost like as though the cat has your tongue. And you scream as loud as you can. You have to share things, and you can't.
You know you're right and you want to share.
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
So,
And
so now, didn't they just approve that whoever's on the admin page now has to have it approved before they can post?
I don't know, because I'm not on there.
So-
Board or a person?
Probably a person. I don't know.
Clerk, I
Probably
don't
the
know.
president.
Yeah.
I'm
So
assuming.
I wasn't even, again, on social media when I supposedly made these
But they
comments.
just used that against you.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, okay, so who doesn't post on Facebook? It's my, I think Congress passed in 2021 that people who of elected officials do get to speak, and I'm always so mindful and articulate on what I'm going to say, so I don't have to eat my words. And then she would say, I did that. And then there's a
And I'm not articulate.
Yeah, okay,
But I get
she's
the
not.
point across.
Well, it's okay
My
to
tact
be
is a little
honest
different.
And truthful and factual and straight.
Yeah.
Don't sugarcoat it. Just say, hey, the redcoats are coming.
Yeah.
Or just
And all of
say
a
what
sudden,
it
we're the
is.
worst people in the world, and it's just, I'm just awful. But to tell Pullman Radio and the Lewiston Tribune to thousands of readers that Judy Fuller is a danger to community, that's not okay with me. Because now I'm suffering consequences for that.
Some
And I will be
standards.
dealing with this individual in court. Yeah,
expected.
unfortunately.
When people make false comments about somebody and it hurts
Yeah,
their
I've already
reputation
spoken
or
to an
their-
attorney. Yeah,
Yep,
No.
that's what happens.
yeah. It's just unbelievable. I'm always a
We
bad guy.
we got a lot to say.
We got a lot
No.
to say.
Have you gotten a chance to talk to anybody, now that the voting has happened, have you actually gotten to talk to anybody that voted against you and had them explain to you why they voted against you?
I reached out to the few people that I thought were my friends, and only one responded, and she said, Judy, I got lied to about the reason why you need to be removed. I got told you were threatening the mayor. I'm like the last person in the world threatening anybody.
Oh.
And she did have some voters' remorse, 2 other people who I do not know approached me. One, a retired Marine there in Juliaetta. He goes, Judy Fuller. First he called me Julie. He goes, I'd like to talk to you. Don't leave yet. Because I just came out of the annex building and voted myself. And he came up and spoke with me for a good 15 minutes. And he goes, I voted you to remain because I have had the same issues in this town when I pushed for transparency. So the support is coming in. But the ones that I asked some questions to just did not reply back. And that's fine. I'm not going to harass anybody. I was just shocked.
I think with the way the world is now, and more people are seeing it in the rural areas, they're raising their kids rural, but then their kids grow up and go to the bigger towns. But we're still getting some of the people from big towns that are sick of it to our small community. So it's not generation after generation and we're all just going to agree because we've lived here all our lives, this is the way it is, and this is the way it's going to be. And you're finding more and more people are coming in and they want to make a change. We had a First Bank of Pizza and they closed because they're moving, but her pizza was really good and she was busy and everything, but we lost that because they moved.
She signed my recall petition.
So,
I pet sit for her.
They haven't moved out yet, but they had to close down and stuff like that.
Funny.
My thing is that, okay, so here's this beautiful pizza place that they have redone.
Vintage Bank, yeah.
So it's historical. Why isn't anybody jumping on the bandwagon and saying, hey, I want to open this, teach me how and give me ideas.
We're losing our town is what's happening.
So, and they don't understand that. They think that we're the poison, but they don't see that, we have this big park that has a softball, baseball field, but nobody takes advantage of it. They're not there supporting it. And if they do, most of the time, they don't support the concession stand because I'm there or whatever. And it's not like I'm taking the money, and we provide a good service because a lot of times if they do double headers, those kids got to eat,
It's been good. Yeah.
So.
It's like the doer's no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
Exactly. On that, so a personal reflection and what drives your motivation? Why did you ultimately choose to stay on the council and go down the rabbit hole rather than just resign like they were wanting you to? What kept you motivated despite the backlash and challenges that you faced from everybody?
That is actually going to cause me to be a little water-eyed. It's a very, I have a personal answer for that. So there were many times, Bonnie knows, that's it, I'm putting them done, they don't deserve me, I'm done. But I am a person of faith. I know that is Satan talking, and then not God.
What did I tell you when I first started getting you involved in this?
She also threatened me she said, if you're going to go down a rabbit hole, don't pull back like everyone else. I said, I'm not that.
I said, I won't do it. I don't
give up, Jesse. And the more I learned, the more questions there were to ask. That's just the way it is. I am a truth seeker. I stand on a pillar of truth. It doesn't make me a perfect person, but it makes me want to know the truth. Because if I didn't continue, then it's kind of like I'm on their side.
Well, most of the time it's like this big, it's like this big project. The more that's why we went through decades. I mean, we started in 1950 and went through every single minute, every single ordinance, and stuff like that, because you start getting more and more questions, and it's kind of interesting. And I'm one of those people where if something big project comes up, I got to finish it.
Yeah, I just knew I couldn't give up, and I had a lot of support, not in the city limits, but a lot of support outside of our county, saying, Judy, she goes, there's a reason that you were brought. You kind of landed on city council. You just got to stay the course. And then when I knew that they succeeded on the recall, I wanted to resign then too. And I said, no, I've come this far.
No.
So tomorrow night, you know what I get to do? I get to be on my last meeting and watch my peers vote to approve the recall election results. And I'm just going to, I'm going to keep my chin up. I would do it all over again. I have zero regrets.
There's a possibility they might not approve the results.
Not with this.
If it was false or misleading, you might have a chance at the very beginning, and you might be able to have people come to it and say, I was misled, directly misled.
I've asked those persons to come forward or write a letter, an affidavit, and they're too fearful. I was born and raised here. I'm from here. I rent from the mayor. I would like to, Judy. I just can't. Or I own a
What are they
business.
fearful of losing?
I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me. So again, most of my support is outside
I think
of
it's
the city.
backlashing, because we were just
Yeah.
talking about doing this interview together, and I said, you know, the most fearful thing is the backlash from everybody.
And
The
what did I
people
say?
that want to judge us just by what we're saying, but have never stepped into the city hall and looked at one single minute.
And you're not saying anything wrong. You're saying this is a black and white thing. This is
Yeah.
money is going to an account
Yeah.
that does not belong to the city, or it's not a city account. It's going to a private account. The mayor, his daughter, and his son-in-law all have access to this account.
That's right.
These are black and white facts. There's no emotion involved in this. You shouldn't be judged on presenting that. That's what the citizens of Juliaetta need to understand.
Yeah.
And those who have said they read what was above, and when they were getting ready to vote, you know, did they really read
Yeah.
it? Do they really
Now
read it?
again, just since the election last week, there has been some voters came said, Judy, if we knew there was an open, active investigation, we would have voted you to remain. And I'm thinking to myself, and I didn't engage with that, but I'm thinking, so you voted me out because you think I just made all this up?
Like it's an attack on your character.
Yeah,
But-
Truth
yeah.
or-
But there was also somebody that posted in one of the pages that somebody had told me about, that the person that lived in Juliaetta was actually going, listen, before I vote, what's the whole issue with Judy? No
didn't know.
No idea what was going
No
on.
clear.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you believe that staying in your position after you found out that you were going to be recalled has had any positive impact on Juliaetta? And is there any specific outcomes or revelations that have benefited the community as a result of you still being there?
That's a great question, and I can answer part of that. So the first night, the night of the election, I found out that I had lost it from my sister across country. I'm like, how did you know? And she said someone posted it on the group page 45 minutes before the polls even closed. It was posted at 7:15, but our polls didn't close to 8. So that was really kind of peculiar. You know, whatever.
Reminds me of 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. And then, I don't want to give her name, but some candidates that were also on the election, they were going to the Idaho, whatever the election website is, to get updates on the vote count. The stamped time on the updates were 40 minutes ahead of the real time on the phones. So that stuff's
is
just
kinda
kind of weird. Yeah. So, but as far as the impact, someone said, first of all, I got said from a neighbor, she said, Judy, you're too honest for politics. And I just kind of stepped back and I thought, I never thought of that, but she's right. And I'm thinking, could you imagine what it would look like if everyone's like that? A whole different world, whole different country. And for me, it's so easy because I've always said one of my mottos is authenticity is the highest frequency on earth. So if you're genuine to a fault, you can hardly go wrong. You're still going to make mistakes, but you're authentic. You're genuine. You're not pulling stuff out of the air. And and then another person said, Judy, unfortunately, you're the sacrificial lamb, but you've woken the community up. And now that I'm getting messages from surrounding cities, they're now wanting to go to their city councils. So we're on to something here. And again, I have a goal where I'm going to help really educate people, really how much power they have as just a resident of a city.
And I think there's only a few people that are making comments without having proof, so to speak. And
Same 5 people.
and I really think that's also what's making an effect, because other people are going, hey, I'm not going to listen to you anymore because you don't have your facts. They
I think
do.
other people would correct those people who have wrong facts.
You know, I mean, if you want to complain about the things that we say, or like Daily Fly or Lewiston Tribune or whatever, we don't post on Facebook because we've been kicked out. But, even here, then you need to do your research and you need to put it out there and say, this isn't right here. Here's a copy of this,
I wish that, and I'm not really trying to hurt anyone or throw anyone under the bus, but I wish that the Pullman Radio / Lewiston Tribune, when they interviewed Stephanie, who initiated my recall, who's on my blog, the one with the peacocks, just like you've asked for examples or maybe documents or something, that the receipts for what we're saying. When she was saying Judy Fuller was a danger to the community and that I had taken pictures of the mayor on a gurney at the ER, no, that was Ann Green, a friend of mine. He's a public figure. It wasn't illegal. He was on a gurney. We were concerned. Our mayor's on a gurney. But that's just a dirty, dark secret in Juliaetta. In Lewiston, it'd be on the front page of the paper.
Didn't
right?
even know. As a city worker at that time, everybody else knew. But they did not contact me and let me know.
Because there's never a statement by him.
And he has to sign checks, and I have to pay bills. And the clerk was on vacation. But she even knew, and I didn't.
But as far as those news sources I just mentioned, I wish they would have asked Stephanie, okay, could you give me an example of what Judy Fuller did to indicate that she's a danger to the community? And they didn't do that.
I definitely would have done that.
I know you would have. It's like, and then, again, I'll be dealing with her here shortly, unfortunately.
Tomorrow?
No, not tomorrow. You have to have filing fees. But,
Filing fees.
yeah, filing fees. Oh, good filing fees. But you know what? That's not okay. And I am. The good news is, I don't even know if you know. I made the decision to enroll at 58 years old into school. I will just say it's law related, and I begin early February.
Go get them.
I'm gonna go get them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes
But see-
something moves you to the point where you need
Yeah.
to go get them.
Well, I did the paralegal stuff before. But it's like, but when you make a comment or if they do your research, it's like, oh, I don't know if we want to hire her because she's a danger to the community, So, yeah.
So, Juliaetta now. What specific changes do you believe would make Julietta's government more transparent and inclusive? And are there any new policies or procedures you would advocate for to prevent future issues like you have experienced?
The first answer to the question is everyone there's got to go. We need to completely get new people in there.
People who care.
People who want to run and make a difference. Yeah, people who's like, okay, this hasn't
Who's going
worked
to
for
do
decades.
research? Who's going to do
Yeah,
research?
yeah.
I mean, when you even have an iPad for a whole month and you do not do any research,
So you're prepared for that meeting.
you don't contact the clerk or the treasurer and say, listen, this is going to be on the agenda. Can I get a copy of the paperwork? Or open your emails and read those. A lot of times, even for the
Letters and stuff.
wastewater treatment plant, CETA would send us stuff, and I don't believe they opened it and looked at it, because a lot of times they deer in the headlights, and Dodd would talk about everything, and
You just need them to educate themselves.
Well, so what happens when you're at a meeting? We have to table it because they don't know. But
we
they
need
should have
more
come-
information. Well, you should have been asking when you looked at the agenda is a week out.
Right,
You get it you get it sent to you Wednesday, Thursday. You have a week. So even if you don't look at it until the weekend, you could ask for
1 hour a
I
month,
think
1 hour.
The process, even more to that, is when they get it, they have even an hour to look at it, but there's the reading first, and then they have to wait till the next meeting in order to vote on it.
And
Right, so
then
there
it
should
doesn't go. We have a notorious individual. Can we put that on next month's agenda and we'll revisit it? So I went back 60 years.
and a lot of times they
That's all
never
we do.
revisited.
And then they definitely
never
get revisited.
They never revisited it because the clerk would not put it on the agenda because she apparently did not pay attention to what was supposed to be put on it.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say all the time, and she did do it a few times because if it was important, like with the wastewater treatment. But if it was something petty, like what they thought was unimportant, like the microphones,
Get swept aside.
it got swept
I
aside.
want to add that the biggest complaint that Julia residents that have contacted me over this whole calendar year is how we, as local leaders, do not enforce our own city laws. We do not enforce our own city ordinances. So I'm like, okay, so why? Well, when you create an ordinance and you got to codify it, because you can't enforce a code that hasn't been codified, however you say it. And
they
so for
won't get a
years, it
ticket
doesn't
book.
get done. So the sheriff department says, "Oh, we can't enforce something that you don't have in the book.
There's no code for it.
There's no code." So we have a particular resident. I don't want to mention her name, but she is awesome, and she has been. Her civil rights have been violated for 30 years. She has been abused for 30 years on so many different levels. She can't even sell her property in Juliaetta because a realtor won't touch it because the city hasn't done their job, without going into detail what they need to do for her to sell it. And it's just a sad
And we
situation.
pay somebody, what is it, $100, $50 a year, which is not a
It's
lot.
$200 a month.
200 or whatever,
200 a
to
month,
to codify.
but that doesn't get done.
But you have to send them the information. And it hasn't been done for over 3 years.
Sounds like there's a job opening.
So, not for me. No.
Yeah, so is there a question we can address? That'd be awesome.
No, it was showing me something. Okay, Judy, how would you handle being on the city council if re-elected? If for some reason the swamp gets cleared,
Yeah, but
would you be okay with being back on city council or even in another position?
I've been asked that from countless people, and if we had a whole different, yes, I would. I absolutely would, because I learned so much, and I say this without getting teary-eyed. I've learned so much. Did I expect to be removed 11 months into a 4-year term? It's not what I envisioned, but that shows me that sometimes God's plans are bigger than our own. So I'm kind of learning to accept this. But I know that my job for fighting for the residents of Juliaetta, remember, I don't own a home. I don't own a business. But I still believe in the law, and I have good friends who own businesses and homes, who take pride in their home. I'm fighting for them. And I know I got what it takes to just do a whole lot more than what I would have done in 11 months. So I probably would do it again, but under a different mayor and some different council members. Absolutely. People joke saying I should run for mayor. I'm like, no, I don't want that job.
Well,
Actually, you don't have a lot of, you do.
You just have a title. You don't get to vote.
council member's a good way to go at first.
Sure.
When's the next elections, and do they split them up on you?
So a year from
Split 'em
this
up.
month, a year from this month, the
December.
two fellas, November of next year, November of 2025, the two males that we have, their seats are up. I don't know if
Do
I'd
they
run.
usually run uncontested?
Yes.
Yeah, that our whole town does. That's the
So-
problem.
Yeah.
So you
That's why
and
they
other
keep coming on.
individuals that might want to get together.
I
can cut out
have
seats.
I have a gut feeling that with everything that has happened this year, people are going to run.
Good.
I think so. I've done something. I mean, it's like if I had again be removed to just change the dynamics and the goals and just change everything, then that's great.
Nice.
So there are 2 seats up, and I'm hoping that we have a new mayor soon.
Well, good.
But that's sad that for years and years and years, these people have stayed on city council and never.
Just like the federal government, right? Nobody runs.
Nobody's running against them. Maybe
Yeah.
once in a while,
Well,
one
now with
person would.
awareness,
But they're not always
Yeah.
going to vote for the same person because they know that same person's going to
It's
just
safe.
show up, and I don't have to do it. You know what I mean? Because they know their routine. But the problem is that we need to get out of the old way and break ground for the new way. And I would love to see a couple 18-year-olds. I don't care if you're going to LCSE and you're still living in Juliaetta.
You don't have to own a home to be on council.
Nope.
Exactly.
And you could be on city council, and you know what? It might really look good on your resume once you finally
definitely,
graduate.
definitely.
You know, but
Yeah.
it's very important, and I think it's very interesting that more and more younger people are getting involved.
Well, they're waking up to
Yeah.
realizing we have problems.
Yeah,
That is our
exactly.
problem.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. And
Sure,
I personally don't like the word change. I didn't come as a newbie into town to change anything. I like the word improvement.
There you go.
Like the first thing, yeah, we don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. Are you kidding me?
That should be improved on.
We're only open, 9 to noon. People are having to go to Kendrick to get notarized. People to get liquor license. But the employees are getting full-time government benefits. So I brought that up, and I wasn't too popular that day. Brought that up. But when a brand new person can get 5 of the 6 items passed, but you have a council member been there 8 years, 1 for 12, and they pass nothing.
They just,
Time for change. Time for a rollover.
well, hopefully you guys bring it. I
Well,
hope so. And
yeah.
we want to keep updated with you
Well,
guys
and
too,
we'd
so
like
we'll-
to, now that they've got the lights, the baseball, they're probably gonna do double headers. So we're hoping that the city will allow us to still do the concession stand. And,
That weighs really heavy on your heart. You brought it up a couple of times. You want to do concessions.
she's passionate about that.
well.
I just want us
you
to
know
follow the
what?
law.
It is- People sit there and go, small towns, you're only gonna, if you do a fundraiser, you're only gonna make a couple $100. Do you know that it does not take that much time, 2-3 hours? Maybe
Just set it
4,
up.
just,
Yeah.
just to do the whole thing, and then the next day, and it's just so much fun. We get to watch the games,
It's part of being part of the community.
and we make money, and we make a lot of money. I mean, I made close to 15,000 in just 3 years, and my husband helped. It was just me and my husband. A lot of times, if I couldn't make it, he would do it by himself because I had city council meeting or I had to work late. But to me, that's passion. That's showing. I volunteer. I don't have to do just food bank
Right.
or garden club or whatever. This is my passion.
Tomorrow night when I walk out of my last meeting, it's going to be, I don't know, I think it's going to be sad, but I feel proud for doing what I was able to do in a short amount of time. And I'm going to have some peace knowing that I am, obviously with Bonnie leading me down that path, have awoken not just our community, other communities, about the corruption is being revealed, it is being disclosed, and that is a good thing. And when more and more corruption is being revealed, that's the only way where there's going to be some serious change.
Exactly.
Even at becoming very unpopular.
And like I said, we're opening eyes to the younger generation too, and I really feel that way.
Yeah, I think
But the problem with small towns sometimes too is, she was mean to me one time, so I don't like her, or whatever. They hear bad things,
I think with
But I think that ends up going away.
I totally get it. If I really want to thank you guys
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jesse.
talking and letting us know what happened.
Yeah,
And we'll get the
absolutely.
word out there.
Okay.
Keep putting up the good fight. Don't give up.
And thank you for everything you do. You do a
Yes.
little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Watch some of your videos.
If you ever
Really
need an
nice.
extra reporter, let me know.
Yeah.
Because I get people to talk as long as they don't live in town.
Yeah.
Well,
My
I really
town.
appreciate you guys. I
Thank
really
you.
do.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
Hi, LC Valley. Tonight, you're going to watch a video. And it's
So, and it's going to be totally unedited. Just say we're not going to do any editing. We're going to run it from beginning to end.
okay.
I'm going to make some shorts and stuff, but it's just going to be full, raw, unedited. But the main thing is that Mayor Juliaetta had his opportunity.
You want me to say it unedited?
Unedited raw, we're going to present it to you.
Okay.
And the main thing is the Mayor of Juliaetta has, oh shit, hold on, I gotta switch.
Refused.
Not refused, but yeah. I mean,
Not contacted us back.
Yeah, and we've tried every means necessary. Text messaging, Facebook messaging, phone calls, messages left. He's choosing not to comment. So this is all we have is one-sided so far. Ready? And quiet on set, everybody, and go ahead.
Hi, LC Valley. It's Jesse again. So you're about to watch a video in regards to Juliaetta. We found some information out, and we reached out to the mayor in Juliaetta on numerous occasions over the last couple weeks, and we haven't had a response yet. So in our reporting, we like to get both sides of a story. Unfortunately, that's not possible in this case. So I present to you tonight a story about Juliaetta and what's happening there with their TV fund. Remember, this is going to be an unedited, totally raw and uncut video. So you will get from the beginning to the end. And if you have any questions, go ahead and let us know, and we'll be glad to ask. I kind of screwed that up.
We'll try.